Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
East Lampeter Sewer Authority, and I invite you to join us in the pledge of the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We've had the minutes for at least 2 weeks now. Unless there's any additions or corrections, are going to stand approved as written. Treasurer's report.
Rick, we have a checking account balance of $10,439.25.
Okay. Sanitary sewer bills.
We do have a few of those. We have check number 499 to HRG in the amount of $3,992.21. Check number 500 to Nicholas and Hohanadel, the amount of $1,053, and checks to the members of the authority present today, checks number 501 through 505, each in the amount of $25 for a grand total of $5,170.21.
Requisitions.
We have one requisition today, requisition number 03583. This is payable to Herbert Norman Grubik for the total amount of $23,385. That's working regarding the Stauffer Run Pump Station Improvement Project, the Stauffer Run Force Main repairs, and the State Route 30 bridge replacement, the sewer relocation design associated with that.
Okay, looking for a motion to pay the sanitary sewer bills and requisitions.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to stormwater. Payment of bills.
I do have a list of bills here that have been paid that appear on the final page of the East Lampeter Sewer Authority. Total there. And they total $8,147.15.
Okay, looking for a motion to pay the stormwater
I'll
bills.
make a motion. We pay the stormwater bills.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, under old business, sanitary sewer, Stauffer Run upgrade.
We are wrapping up design, as I discussed last month, for the improvements with the intention of having it ready to go out to bid here this month. So that is proceeding. That we should be, as I said, going out to bid here this month on that project.
Anything else? No. Stauffer Run.
The only thing, it's not necessarily the upgrade, but if you remember, there was a force main work associated with that project, separate project. The PennDOT HOP was going to expire for that other work. we prepared the paperwork to have that extended for another 12-month period. So that's there if and when those improvements are performed. That was something that was going to be done with the township.
Sounds good. Is there any other old business we need to discuss?
No, sir.
Okay, old business under Stormwater, Greenfield Road Easement Agreement.
So that easement agreement, the check was sent, as I believe you have in front of you, a
Yeah.
letter from Nicholas and Hohenadel indicating that the check was sent. In the interim, a mortgage holder has been found. So whether or not the mortgage holder wishes to be paid in a certain way, the project can still move forward.
Okay. Any other old business under Stormwater?
No, sir.
New business under Sanitary Sewer Treehouse discussion.
So as we discussed last time, Solicitor Kareem went back and revised the interim agreement, has now forwarded that to opposing counsel, and they are in discussions as to whether or not that interim agreement can move forward at this time.
Yeah. Seems like it's getting stretched out a little bit here.
Because nothing's going to happen with the temporary repairs until this agreement.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Borrowing discussion.
At last month's meeting, Charlie asked me to go through the project list and take a look at the projects that are intended to be funded, as well as update that with the city's intended projects and the information they provided to us at the partners meetings. So in the engineer's report packet, the probably fourth page in, the top of it has a box of project funding estimates. And what I've done is gone through and cleaned up the construction fund report and tried to take a look at the next couple years of the projects you have on the books, as well as some other projects that may be forecasted here. So just going down through that list there, there used to be line items for I&I repairs. What I've noticed is over the past few years, those really haven't necessarily materialized. So what I've done is taken a look and said sewer system repairs, and just 2021, 2022, 2023 had in just some line item budgets there for various repairs that may be needed to the system each of those years. Then went down to the fertility pump station and the work that's currently underway there with the stainless steel pump impellers that are being procured and installed, as well as the pump to header piping and valve replacement, and have that cost associated. Have some costs in there for the Stauffer Run force main project between the work that's occurred already and some potential construction of that. The SCADA system, the majority of that project's been done, but there is some money remaining in the budget that I still have there. The cost of the Stauffer Run pump station, pump replacements and associated work with that job. The sewer relocation for PennDOT Route 30. And then finally, the last project is one where over the past few months here, the Oaks 1 pump station has had some issues where more flow has been coming into it than what it can pump out. So they have, when that's occurred, the water level rises in the wet well and actually causes, there's less head on the pumps, and actually causes the pumps to pump faster and draws more energy when it's doing that. and trips out the motor circuit breakers because of the energy draw. So, that's one issue, but the other issue is why is there more flow coming into it? So there's a potential it could be looking at the capacity of that pump station, increasing that, or is it an issue of the drainage basin that's tributary to it of some I&I issues that are coming into the station? So I think there's going to be a need for a project looking at that, investigating that here some point here in the future, because I believe there's been 2 overflows here in the past 2 months, not counting this storm here that just occurred last week.
Does DEP have to call when that happens?
When that happens, the staff does notify DEP that there's been an overflow and what they've done to remedy the situation, putting lime on the ground, things along those lines. But I foresee as part of the Chapter 94 report, DEP is going to be aware of this and say, hey, this is something that needs to be addressed from a long-term issue. So could potentially be a pump issue, increasing the size of the pumps there, or replacing the force main with a larger size to get more flow through it.
How far does the force main go?
It's a relatively short one. It's probably less than 1,000 feet would be my guess. It's going right behind it's right along Route 30 behind the state police barracks. So it goes from that pump station there up to the road in between state police barracks and the PennDOT maintenance facility there. It may be.
Oh, it just pumps up.
Yep.
Is the discharge line too small?
That's what I'm thinking. It's a 4-inch, you could look at a 6-inch, but maybe use the existing pumps that are there and upsize that. Or is it a factor of growth and development upstream of it over time with some I&I coming to it, that more flow's coming in?
And this doesn't have anything to do with the other problem, the tree.
Correct. They're 2 different areas.
Where's that flow to?
That portion of the system flows down across Route 30, goes down to the, eventually goes to the Mill Creek intersection.
Doesn't go by the old Perkins?
Treehouse?
Yeah.
Treehouse does. Treehouse goes by the old Perkins. The Oaks goes across Route 30 at the intersection there where the state police barracks is and the PennDOT maintenance facility, and then heads down towards Mill Creek. Generally follows that road.
What's your assumption? Why is this increased flow?
It's hard to say. I mean, there could be a break in the line someplace that's just allowing some groundwater or some sort of infiltration to get in the system during rain events. But there could also be, I think that's why you may be seeing higher flows during those time periods. I don't think folks would generally take a sump pump and put that, into the sewer system after the fact.
How big is that pump station?
It's probably 300 gallons a minute or so.
2 pumps or 3?
2 pumps.
2 pumps.
But I think there's a couple options that we haven't done a really detailed investigation, but I think it
The only
could.
thing you said it didn't make sense was you said when the water goes up in the wet well.
Yep.
That decreases the head.
Decreases the head,
Which
but
would make-
increases the flow. So it moves further right on
It
the curve
increases
and
the
draws
head,
more
but
power.
it shouldn't put any more load on the motor.
Looking at the pump curve, when it runs further right on the curve, it has a higher power draw at that spot. And it overloads, it trips out the motor circuit breaker, it overloads the motor at that location. So what staff's had to do is they've had to wait for the temperature of the motor to drop down. It resets and then pump kicks on again. So they've had to reset.
But high water in the wet well should cause less load on the motor.
It was something I had to look at and see, like, why is this pump tripping out during a high water event?
I'm sure it's just not something wrong with the pump.
I would say from the desktop analysis I've done, I haven't looked at anything there. Just when you reduce the head on it, where the system curve meets the pump curve, it's further right in the power draw at that point. That far out, yeah. It
Are they
increases.
submersible pumps or are they?
They are. But it took me a little while to do
It
that.
shouldn't work that way.
I understand.
And common sense. I mean,
Right.
When your water well up, you're putting more pressure into the pump.
Right.
The head stays the same. Because the head is only the resistance going out, unless there's a clog in the line or a line.
Yeah, I
smaller
mean,
than
it's
it
trying to
is.
pump more flow through that line during that time period, so your friction losses go up and increases slightly. But I think it's just that flow rate, and I think the pumps that are there, when they generally operate, are close to their motor limit.
Mhm.
And I think it's just because they're pumping so much faster now, they exceed the limit of the motor. And these motors have some safety factor built into them. I think when it's for extended period of time and they run, they generate some heat.
And they're not alternating motors, they're stage motors. So the second one, they're both running.
I believe they're both running at that time.
How old are they?
The pumps themselves, I think, have been repaired or replaced here within the last 10 years. And, yeah, because staff has said, hey, when they go out to take a look at the station, the flows have been elevated, they get the alarms, they go out, they find out that both pumps are tripped out. So they have to reset the circuit breakers. And when they do, the pumps kick on right away. And there's been times there where they've allowed them to run and they've actually kicked out again after running for some period of time. And then they had to let them cool down and reset them again, and until they go through that cycle enough that it draws it down to an operable level where they run automatically.
Do we have any numbers to know that the infiltration is normal to what it's been, or is in water events? Or is it getting higher?
My understanding is there's been no metering at that station to record this.
So we don't know if it's.
Correct.
So it's something we better really think about looking into, I mean, before DEP
Correct.
steps
Because a
in.
couple of things I suspect is, as wet as this year has been, that you might have unusual events and infiltration.
Right.
Or just something that hasn't shown up for a while.
Yeah, it could be some surface has changed and now you're getting some inflow into a manhole, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So that's I put a placeholder in there for some dollar amount for that station. And then for the city projects, under part 3, the projects that are listed there are the ones that you've been aware of here for some time, and those costs. But if you go down to, I think it's 2 pages after that, the future city projects, there's a list of projects that the city has given us that are forecasted for later in 2022 into 2023 and subsequently into 2024. That, they're looking at about $2.5 million worth of projects there. So overall, at the top there under just above the future city projects, there's some available funds. There's roughly $2.2 million worth of East Lampeter projects. Projects that the city is currently planning to undertake here in the near term. There's roughly $2.5 million of those. And there's approximately, you have roughly $2.7 million in funding available currently. With the future city projects, that adds, as I said, there are another $2.5 million.
There's a project under here, this September 21 compost facility demolition.
That's,
And that's in future.
it's in future. It's a project where they keep pushing it off. They're saying, hey, we don't necessarily need to demo it just yet. They find, so they haven't updated the timeline for that just yet.
We know how the city works. I mean, they'll never get to all these projects in the next year or so.
Right.
No way. So we've got to be a little judicial how we,
I think that's what the city's looking at, to say, hey, these are future ones to allow for budgeting and planning. But as you mentioned, these get
Like
delayed.
just for the north secondary clarifier, what's your opinion of the realistic, number 7, north secondary clarifier? What's your opinion of that?
So that project is under design right now. My understanding is they've run into some issues that they've encountered during the geotechnical investigation phase of that, where they were planning to put that, there are some, they've discovered it was an old trash dump. So now they're investigating, you know, do they need to find other land? Is there other things they need to do to restore and protect that so that tank doesn't settle?
So that's not going to happen July 22.
That July 22 estimate was updated by the city in July of 21 to push
Yeah.
it out then.
Yeah. So
Might be the end of 2022.
right. So we're not in urgent need, but within the next 6 months, we got to discuss it.
that's what I think, 6 months is a good time period.
Relook at it in the first quarter.
So what I may do for next month is maybe make some modifications to the construction fund report to better utilize these numbers here for your projects. Because we've been carrying over historic costs and projects that have been done, such like those Route 30 sewer project. Those have kind of been off the books for a while. And we can use that for better planning in the future.
Okay, sewer line easement Eastwood Village.
If you all remember, you signed an easement agreement back in October of last year for Sherry Lane, and then it goes off-road to Ben Franklin Boulevard, and then Summers Drive, and goes off-road again to Ben Franklin Boulevard. And those projects have been completed now with lining of those pipelines for the sewer system. And so this is just an acceptance of that easement and bill of sale.
So it looks like we need a motion to accept the easement, right? Anybody want to make that motion?
What do we accept?
The easement agreement.
Is it named more than just,
Yes, it is the agreement providing for grant of easements between High and East Lampeter Sewer Authority. And it was dated October 15th, 2020.
so we're making a motion to accept that?
Yeah, to accept the sewer line and easement.
So I'll make a motion, we accept the sewer line and easement to Eastwood Village.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, if we could jump back to Treehouse while
Yep.
while you were in discussion about borrowing, I received an email indicating we have a signed agreement.
Excellent.
That's good. Any other new business under sanitary sewer?
Just to report, we went back to the city requested that all the partners look at their peak flows for the next 20 years. We've done that here over the past month and provided that revised information to the city for flow projections. So in your packet, there is a table there that lists the flow projections between now and 2042 with some updated peak flow numbers based upon current flows. That information there still shows that you are within your capacity that's been allocated thus far within the city system. This gives you an idea of some of the various peak flows that occur. The peak flows of the system when you have rainfall events versus the overall average daily flows. So looking at the Conestoga Gardens Pump Station Basin, which includes the Fertility Pump Station, the Bridgeport, Susan Avenue areas there, you can see that the system as a whole, the average daily flow is 1.62 million gallons a day, where the peak hourly flow for that system was 4.06 million gallons per day, which is a reasonable peaking factor for a system this size and this age.
Okay, we're going to move on to stormwater update on the MS4
The stormwater coordinator provided you with a
report.
update and report on the various projects and or inspections that are currently happening. We had a very productive meeting with HAC and a potential project on their property, which we had initially begun 2 years ago, and then we were not allowed on the property because of COVID and the restrictions that HAC had in place, and they have opened that back up now. So we're hoping to move forward with that one very soon.
Does HAC now own that property? I mean, Bob Redkay originally didn't. You know, we had problems with him.
HAC does own that property,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Any other business under stormwater? New business? No? Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Moved. Second.